Part of the IOM Radio Network.
IPMNation.com.
Tonight on Unleashed, the Oregon rancher standoff continues. Trump plays the birther card on Cruz. That's a little bit of a surprise. I thought we were past all that. I guess not. He must feel threatened by Cruz in Iowa. And a right-wing nut claims that if Hillary Clinton becomes president, everyone will turn gay. Yes, I do love those stories. It is Tuesday, January 5th, 2016, 11 p.m. in the Eastern Time Zone. Matt Connarton Unleashed starts now.
Auto sequence starts. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, Matt Connarton Unleashed. We're live on this Tuesday evening. Very, very cold here in the Northeast. So wherever you are, I hope it's comfortable. But up here, we're freezing. We are, of course, at the Uptown Auto Repair Studio in Manchester, New Hampshire, broadcasting on IPM Nation Live 1. And, of course, every Tuesday and Thursday night, we also have the honor and privilege of being on OTR FM. And there's a lot to get to. I do want to talk further about Oregon tonight, what's going on there with the ranchers. I spent a lot of time on it last night, so I'm not gonna say too much, but just a little bit of new things to share. But if you didn't listen to yesterday's show, that is up on IPMNation.com, our Monday night show, which is exclusively on IPM Nation 1, powered by Ambit Energy. And so if you're an OTR FM listener who doesn't listen to the show outside of that, if you want to hear my thoughts somewhat extemporaneously on the Oregon standoff, please go back and take a listen to last night's show. But I really want to come back to that a little bit tonight, but I want to get to some other things too. And want to remind everybody, of course, too, that this week the television edition of Matt Connarton Unleashed does return, as it is Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. We had to take last week off from doing the TV edition, not by choice, but MPTS, where we broadcast the show from, the television show, they take a week off every year between that Wednesday, whatever Wednesday falls between Christmas and New Year's. We have to run a repeat for that week and that week only. But other than that, we're on there 51 weeks a year, and I've hinted at it before, but we might be able to expand our fortunes at IPM Nation in terms of television. We have something else cooking, but I haven't heard anything more further on that this week. But I know it's very much going forward. So I'll sorry to be vague, but I'll keep you all updated on that. If anyone would like to enter the conversation tonight. We do have a phone line open, 617-917-4IPM, or if you prefer, 617-917-4476. You can call us or text us at that number. We also have the chat room at IPMNation.com/live1. You can use that. And, of course, you can post anytime on our Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. You can tweet at me, at Matt Connarton. If you do it live during the show, I'll try to read it during the show. But before we get to either Trump or Oregon, I have something for everyone to consider. I know that for most people who aren't right-wing evangelical Christians, most of you, if your son or daughter were to come to you and say that he or she was gay, you would still love them, right? And you wouldn't judge them, and you would want them to be happy and so forth. I would assume. Now, I'm not a parent, so I assume that's how I would feel, that I would be cool with it. But I think it's important that if you are a Democrat and you are in favor of Hillary Clinton, I want you to really consider how you'd feel about it and be sure that you'd be okay with it. And here's why. According to rightwingwatch.org, and as longtime listeners know, I do so love this website. According to rightwingwatch.org, Kevin Swanson predicts that Hillary Clinton will lead tremendous majorities of American kids to homosexuality. So if you are considering voting for Hillary, I hope you'll I hope you'll consider this prediction, because if he's right, then electing Hillary might turn your child or children gay. Here, I'll read this article. This is from rightwingwatch.org, and there is audio included too, but it's like 5 minutes of audio, so you'll have to. I don't want to take up 5 minutes of the show with this nonsense, but there's a few quotes in the article here, and it's short. It says here, far-right Colorado pastor Kevin Swanson got some negative publicity last month when he managed to get 3 Republican presidential candidates to speak at an event he organized, where he spent most of his speaking time warning that America must repent for such sins as birth control, liking Harry Potter too much, and failing to execute gay people. On his Generations radio program yesterday, Swanson said that although he was severely mocked for his remarks at the conference, it is true that America must repent or God will punish the nation through the election of Hillary Clinton, who will in turn lead, quote, tremendous majorities of American kids down the track towards homosexuality, unquote, and other sexual sins. Swanson got on the subject while discussing a recent case in Massachusetts in which a judge found that a Catholic school violated a state non-discrimination law when it pulled a job offer from its food services director after he listed his husband as an emergency contact. Well, I can sort of understand that. What if he got his gayness on the food, and then the kids ate the food, and the food turned them all gay? I mean, it would be anarchy. Swanson warned that this was all part of the, quote, preparation for the Greek form of education, which, as you know, involves whatever's going on in gymnasia, very, very ugly stuff, unquote, and that the nation is, quote, going in the direction of Harry Potter's mentor and Hiccup's mentor in How to Train Your Dragon, unquote, which he says are gay. The only way to save America, he said, is to keep enough kids out of public schools, which are teaching them to be polytheists and socialists, because obviously those two things are go together, right? And to get enough Americans to repent, otherwise God will fail to have mercy on this nation and allow Clinton to be elected president. Well, the lack of mercy would suggest, I guess it's going to be Old Testament God that shows up. I prefer New Testament God. He seems pretty chill. Old Testament God, that dude, man, you upset him, he'll send a plague or some locusts or something. If America fails to repent, he asked, quote, why wouldn't Hillary Clinton get full reign upon this nation to continue the destructive pattern, destroy the social fabric of the nation, the family, of course, so that, of course, there will be 75% of kids born outside of wedlock to single mothers by the year 2030. So to be sure that tremendous majorities of American kids are taken down the track towards homosexuality, towards the destruction of sexuality with pornography habits, illegitimate divorce, the shack-up rates being 30 times what they were in 1970, and so forth. Oh, my goodness. Well, that's the article. Like I said, there's audio. You'll find it on rightwingwatch.org. Yeah, I mean, I had no idea. But, I mean, these predictions don't always turn out. For example, during the 2012 election, I remember seeing a political ad, and this is no joke, by the way. I'm not making this up. This was strictly online, but Chuck Norris, who is very much a right-wing evangelical Christian, he predicted that if Obama were reelected, that the world would immediately be plunged into 1,000 years of darkness. And I have to tell you, I personally, I was quite concerned when I saw this ad. Granted, I mean, I'm not going to live 1,000 years to see that much darkness, but I mean, that's even if it were just dark for the rest of my life. I mean, we all kind of need some sunlight once in a while, especially in winter. I think it would be very tough. So I was very alarmed by this. And as you can imagine, I was quite relieved on election night when Obama won re-election, and we, in fact, did not immediately plunge into 1,000 years of darkness. Now, I don't know if maybe he was speaking figuratively, and when he said immediately, that's more like, eventually, but, immediately in some sort of supernatural sense of things doesn't necessarily mean, literally like right now. So who knows? I do get a little nervous every time there's a solar eclipse because I fear that it's Chuck Norris's prophecy coming true. So, but we'll hope for the best. I do believe Hillary will be president. As I've said all along, I'm sticking to my prediction. Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee and Hillary Clinton will be the next president. But those of you who do have children, again, remember, no matter who they are, you should be proud of your kids. And, well, as long as they're not like mass murderers or something, but no matter who they are sexually, in terms of their sexuality, be proud of your kids, even if Hillary Clinton turns them all gay. But we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. More Unleashed coming up. Don't go away. We're live.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of the Inspired Parenting radio show, where every week we bring you empowering information from the diverse fields of conscious parenting, education, neuroscience, consciousness, health, and metaphysics to support you in nurturing the best in your children. So if you're interested in understanding what shapes your children's minds, spirits, and hearts, join me every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and prepare to be inspired.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Welcome back. Matt Connarton Unleashed from the Uptown Auto Repair Studio in Manchester, New Hampshire on this very cold evening. We are live, as we are 5 nights a week, Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern on IPM Nation 1, now powered by Ambit Energy, and, of course, OTR FM every Tuesday and Thursday night. So thank you to all the OTR FM listeners as well. And I know they continue to add a lot of great new programming at OTR FM and the regular OMTimes radio channel as well. And we continue to add a lot of great stuff too on IPM Nation. Coming up on the 13th, in fact, January 13th on IPM Nation is the debut of Politipod. If you didn't hear my conversation last Friday with Matt Nisanoff, and hi, Matt, if you're listening, I know sometimes you listen to the show, please check that out. That is also, of course, up on IPM Nation. We've got a little bit of audio here, so continuing with the religious theme for just a moment, because it does play into this whole Oregon Ranchers thing. Apparently, Ammon Bundy, it looks like Ammon, A-M-M-O-N, but I think I've heard it pronounced Ammon, son of Cliven Bundy, y'all remember Cliven Bundy. He was the guy who didn't want to pay the federal government taxes for grazing privileges or whatever, and of course he and then got the right-wing media to sort of hoist him up as this big hero. People like Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck, who were really on the pro-Cliven Bundy bandwagon, and then of course it was really fun watching them trip all over themselves after Cliven Bundy said something that some people perceived as racist, and then people like Beck and Hannity had to figure out how to say, "Oh no, we don't really like him." That was something. I was thinking about this earlier too. Cliven Bundy just sounds like the name of somebody in a slasher film, doesn't it? Like you've got Freddy Krueger and you've got Jason Voorhees and you've got Cliven Bundy. There's something about that name. Ammon Bundy apparently says he's following directions from God, which obviously the obvious question I have right off the bat, just seeing this story, is I wonder, does he believe that if Hillary Clinton is elected, will it turn America's children gay? I'd be curious to ask him. I have a suspicion that, yes, he may on some level believe that. I don't know. But, and look, if you didn't hear last night's show, I'm actually, as much as I make fun of, the militants, I mean, I think it's bad. I think it's a bad way to go about things. Any, threatening violence and all of that, these things tend not to end well. It's not how I would affect change, but I do agree. These two guys who had to go back to prison yesterday, that is absolutely awful, and that is federal government overreach. I forget their names, but one of them is a 73-year-old man who thought he had paid his debt to society after being convicted of arson. He and his son, who, based on the facts of the case that I've been reading, it doesn't sound to me like they really even committed arson, but I wasn't there. I wasn't there for the trial. But they serve out their sentences and they get out. And then, another federal judge says, hey, wait a minute. No, that your previous sentence wasn't long enough. You have to go back. And they had to go back into prison. They were resentenced, which I didn't know was a thing, by the way. I didn't know we did that. I didn't know we did resentencing, where if you're convicted of a crime and you end up in prison, when you're done serving your prison term, some federal judge who had nothing to do with the original case can just come along and say, not so fast. I don't think you were in there long enough. You have to go back. I understand that it's a little more complicated than that in this case because of the mandatory minimums that the original judge did not adhere to, but I think mandatory minimums are BS to begin with. But let's see. Let's just see what Ammon Bundy has to say, because I don't know why. I don't know why. Why is God a part of everything everyone does, good or bad, or God or Satan? If Hillary's president, she's going to turn your kids gay because she's a Democrat. So obviously she worships Satan. Ammon Bundy, he, of course, is doing the Lord's work with this whole, I mean, as someone who is firmly committed to the idea of separation of church and state, I don't know why God has to be a part of everything. I mean, everything. I mean, somebody wins an award or a sporting event, and what do? They thank God. It's like, really? You think God is that concerned with, whether you won a Grammy this year or whether your team won the Super Bowl? When you lose, do you blame Satan? I mean, what is that? Why? I don't care if you believe or not, whatever. It doesn't matter to me, but it's just weird to me that, like, I'm reminded of something, my dad, who, he'll never hear this, but he's Catholic. And I remember he went through this weird phase years ago, where anytime anything went right for him, he would say, I mean, just stupid stuff like, he thought he was going to be late for something and he was able to get there on time after all. And he would say, the Lord was with me on that one. It's like, really? Just anything good that happened, anything, even no matter how mundane, he was, oh, the Lord was with me on that. Really? Why don't you ever give yourself any credit for anything? Maybe you successfully accomplished that task or that goal because you just, figured out how to do it. And everything good that happens to you, it's because of the Lord. I mean, that's nice, I guess. You know what? There's some audio here with this article. Eamon Bundy talking with Megyn Kelly on Fox. So let me cue that up. I haven't listened to this yet. So let's take a listen. And the little wheel is spinning. It's trying to play it. Now it's not going to play it. Maybe we won't play this. Here, I'll start reading the article and I'll stop once the audio plays. So it says here, the man behind the armed occupation of a federal wildlife refuge comes from a Mormon family that has been challenging government authority for at least 2 decades. Eamon Bundy, like his father in previous confrontations, says he is following directions from God and invokes his family's faith when explaining the anti-government movement he is attempting to lead. In March 2014, Cliven Bundy was at the center of an armed standoff with federal officials over grazing rights on government land. I believe that's addressed in Deuteronomy, that
we are
the government
talking
shall
about
not
PTSD, civil rights movement,
breastfeeding in public,
money,
grazing rights. The audio started to play, but I'm just going to read the rest of the article. Forget it. In March, I'm sorry, I read that already. Federal officials backed away from seizing the Nevada ranchers' cattle, but the dispute remains unresolved, and the Bureau of Land Management says the family has not made payments toward a $1.1 million grazing fee and penalty bill. Now Cliven Bundy's son has put himself in the spotlight, this time in Oregon, in a dispute over someone else's ranching operation. His armed group is pressing federal authorities to turn over government land to local control. Let's see, I'm going to skip down here.
Now Eamon Bundy, one of the leaders of this standoff.
Here we go. Here's the audio
is now
I wanted.
calling itself
I'm just going to
Citizens
let
for
it play.
Constitutional Freedom. Eamon, thank you very much for being here tonight. So how is what you are doing not lawlessness?
Well, I think that we have to go to the supreme law of the land to answer that question. And that is that the federal government does not have authority to come down into the states and to control its land and resources. That is for the people to do, and that is clearly stated in Article 1817 of the Constitution.
But you know the argument on the other side, which is these ranchers, whom you support, but you're not directly involved, had their day in court, and they were found guilty, and it went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, which denied their appeal. Isn't that the way it's supposed to work in our country when it comes to the rule of law?
No, it's not,
well,
Megan.
let me ask you, and you, I'm sure you know the answer, but who was the plaintiff?
Eamon's in over his head.
Keep going.
No,
When
I'm
you're in
asking
over
who
your head
was
with
the
Fox,
plaintiff?
you're in trouble.
Against the Hammonds.
I'm waiting for you to make your point. Generally, I don't answer the questions on my show. I ask them.
Oh. Well, I mean,
Eamon
it
got
was
owned
asked
by
of him
Megan.
to be answered, but the plaintiff is the federal government. And yet, they're also, the prosecutors are the federal government. And those who want their land is the federal government. And those agencies that have been oppressing the people here are the federal government. There is no proper redress because the design of this structure of this government is not intended for the federal government to come down against individuals.
I'm going to pause this for a second because we're going to run right into the break. But I do want you to hear the rest of this audio because I was kind of picking on him there for a minute, but I immediately feel bad for picking on him because he actually ends up making a really good point. You know, the plaintiff in the matter against the Hammonds is the federal government, and it's the federal government who wants to punish them and wants to enforce their fees and all that. And then it's the federal government who puts them on trial and puts them in prison. So it's all the federal government. So the federal government effectively is both the plaintiff and the judge. So therefore, you can't win. And then he mentioned, you know, so there's no redress for this because the game is rigged. And actually, he's right. It kind of took him a minute to took him a little bit of stalling before he finally got to his point. And Megan kind of was a little dismissive with him there. And in fairness, so was I as I was playing the audio because I didn't listen to this ahead of time. But once he gets there, he makes a very good point and about why this isn't fair. So we'll play the rest of that when we get back. I want to hear the rest of this audio. More Unleashed coming up. Don't go away. We're live.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Join Elliot Jollish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jollish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jollish Hour.
Do you want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Unleashed. Before the break, I was playing this audio of Eamon Bundy talking with Megyn Kelly on Fox. I actually backed this up a little bit during the break because I want to make sure, because he makes a very, very smart point. So I want to play this again. So I backed it up a little bit so we can hear. I want to make sure we get that entire part in. And then there's just a couple more minutes of audio here, and I'll comment on, and then we'll move on. I promise, because I do want to get to Trump. Got to get to Trump. All right, let's take another listen.
Proper redress because the design of this structure of this government is not intended for the federal government to come down against individuals in a state on these matters, and that is what this is all about.
He's right.
Your brother Ryan apparently told the Oregonian, Ian, I think it's Colgren of the Oregonian, that you are willing to kill and be killed if necessary here. Do you agree with that?
That statement was taken way out of context. I've already talked to my brother about that. And no, I wouldn't agree with it because it wasn't his statement.
So you disavow that. You will not let this come to violence.
Well, I have a family. I have 6 children, a beautiful wife. I have a wonderful home. I have a business, several employees. I'm not here to die. I'm here to defend my freedoms and my liberties. And will I? Yes. But it's not going to come to that. There's good things that are going to come from this, and things are going to get straightened out. And that's what we're here, and we're confident that is going to happen. And it'll be a benefit for many people across this nation. And I can pass a lot I've enjoyed in this life onto my children.
Well, Mr. Bundy, thank you for being with us tonight with your perspective.
Thank you.
That was well done on his part. I'm starting to like this guy. You know, he seems to have a level of media savvy that Cliven Bundy just frankly did not have. No, that was well done. And again, I mean, look, I don't know if it surprises anyone that I'm as sympathetic to these folks as I am, but you know, the key issue there, the core issue with these mandatory sentences and what happened to the Hammonds is just wrong. One of them is a 73-year-old man getting sent back to prison for an additional 5 years because some circuit court federal judge said, nope, the original judge botched it, and we're just going to put you back in there. And we're going to leave you to die in prison. He's 73 years old. His son, I think, is 46, if I remember correctly. And a lot of the media kind of, I've been frustrated too that, you know, a lot of the media that I look at on this is some of them are getting it right. Well, here's the theme I'm noticing. A lot of them are getting it half right. A lot of what I've seen, there was an article I was looking at earlier on HuffPost, which we're not going to get to, but this guy was writing that mandatory minimums, that's something that is not correct, and that it's something that needs to be reexamined because it takes away a judge's discretion, and that's not okay because context matters. But then he completely, in the same article, he completely misses what to me is the single most infuriating part of the whole thing. The mandatory minimums part drives me nuts. I've always thought that was terrible. Or like California's 3 strikes law, anything like that, I think is awful. It's that stuff is created by politicians who want to make sure they look like they're tough on crime. Wrong way to do it. But the thing that's most infuriating to me is that there is something that resentencing is even a thing. I had never even heard that word before until this broke. And then I did some research online. Apparently it's not that unusual. Usually resentencing, though, is done when it's done in favor of the plaintiff. If a plaintiff is convicted of something and is given an unreasonable or what someone perceives as or what the defense may perceive as an unreasonable sentence, when they appeal the case, they'll make a play for resentencing. Well, if you're not going to overturn the conviction, will you at least resentence the plaintiff to a shorter term? And apparently that's very common. But I had no idea that you could also, that this could be done against a plaintiff, in that someone goes to prison, pays their debt to society. And again, from what I've read, I don't think they even should have been convicted of arson to begin with, but I got into that pretty deep on last night's show, so I'm not going to go over all that again, but they serve out the sentences they were given, and then they get out, and then the government comes along and says, nah, we changed our minds. You're going to have to go back in. That's just BS. It's wrong. It's immoral and unethical on every level, and people should be furious about that. You know, whether you're sympathetic to these ranchers or not, That is just wrong, and the government should not be allowed to do that. I would love to see Obama grant the Hammonds clemency, but that won't happen. He doesn't care. I'm sure it's not even on his radar. Because a lot of people, I'm sure him included, they just look at it as, oh, look, it's these crazy rancher, militia, paramilitary types making trouble again. No, there's a deeper issue underneath that. And, I don't necessarily agree with their tactics, although it's harder to disagree with their tactics after hearing Eamon Bundy say, no, we're not going to let it come to violence. We're making a statement here. That was reassuring, and he handled that well. But they have a right to be pissed. We should all be pissed about this abuse by the federal government. Let me just look at this quickly before we come up on the next break, and then I promise we'll get to Trump in the last segment. But this bothers me, but unfortunately it's not surprising. This is on HuffPost. A wave of Islamophobia catches Sikh American community in its crosshairs. Anti-Muslim bigots often mistake Sikhs for Muslims. Let me read this. This is short. Fresno, California's first homicide victim of 2016 is a Sikh American, and police are investigating whether motivation of the attack qualifies as a hate crime. I'm not going to attempt his name, but this gentleman was 68 years old and was stabbed to death on Friday at a convenience store where he worked. The murder is the latest in a string of attacks on adherents of the Sikh faith that seem motivated by prejudice. And then the article goes on to give some more examples. I don't even want to read the whole thing. It's really discouraging. I remember after 9/11 happened, right after there was an incident. I think it was in California where a Sikh was murdered while pumping gas. Some dumb redneck pulled up and shot him because, it's... let's be honest, here in the United States, America, we have a lot of smart, sophisticated people here who know better. But unfortunately, we also have a lot of inbred hillbillies who end up murdering somebody wearing a hat they don't understand because they're literally too inbred and stupid not to go and do that. And, personally, I think anyone who feels that strongly about their own hate and prejudice, anyone who is so bigoted at that level that they would actually go out and commit murder, I don't know why they don't just take themselves out of the equation. I mean, look, I would never encourage anyone to commit suicide, but you got to admit, if you're so bigoted and filled with hate that you're actually going to go out and murder somebody that you don't like, why not just take out yourself? Because that way you don't have to continue to face the shock and horror every day of existing in a world where there's actually people who don't look and think and act and speak exactly like you. If you can't handle it, if you can't handle being in a world that isn't just full of other white, inbred, redneck hillbillies like you, if that's just too much to bear to the point where you're actually willing to go out and kill, you know what? Just take yourself out. Because you know what? I mean, yeah, your family, they'll be upset initially, but, it will ultimately mean just a tiny bit less evil in the world. So I think the rest of us will thank you. I mean, you won't be around to hear us thank you, but, other than that, I would never encourage. Well, child molesters should kill themselves because, that's the only way they can stop from hurting a child. So child molesters and bigots who are so hateful they would kill people, they should. Those are the two groups of people I think should kill themselves. Other than that, I think I just wish everybody would just be cool and allow America to be the great melting pot that it is. And if you see someone in a funny hat, don't assume they're a terrorist. It's not that difficult, but I mean, I saw a video the other day on YouTube. Actually, I think this one went viral of just this gross inbred, just hick woman pulling up at the airport, pulling up in her pickup truck and giving a a couple of dark-skinned individuals a hard time, calling them terrorists and this and that. And, you know, as she's sitting there in her sea of beer cans in her pickup truck, and it's like, yeah, you know, if this woman is really that upset, maybe she needs to figure out a way to address it with herself, not harassing other people who don't look exactly like her. You know, and of course, these people, they breed. Hillbillies love to breed and just perpetuate the hate and ignorance. And that's why we'll probably never see the end of it. Not to sound horribly cynical, but we'll probably never see the end of this nonsense in our lifetimes, because the people who think and feel that way generally don't have the intellect to figure out how to use birth control. So they just keep making more of themselves and having bigger and bigger families. And then at the same time yelling about, you know, those evil brown-skinned people who are supposedly all on welfare and sucking off the system. Meanwhile, they're just popping out one kid right after another. And, you know, and they go to Walmart with their, you know, get their government-assisted food, you know, WIC or whatever it's called. And they are literally too stupid and have not an ounce of, you know, self-awareness to even begin to contemplate the irony and hypocrisy of you know, I assume no inbred hillbillies listen to my show, so I doubt I've offended anyone tonight. Aside from suggesting that a certain type of people should kill themselves, that might be a little edgy for some of you, but really, I mean, what would it matter? Do you really care? Anyway, okay, all right, we got one more segment to go. I'll be right back. More Unleashed coming up. Stay with me.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Welcome back, everybody. As we cruise into our final segment tonight on Matt Connarton Unleashed. Don't forget, we are live 5 nights a week, Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern on IPM Nation 1, powered by Ambit Energy. And every Tuesday and Thursday night, we are also carried on OMTimes Radio, or I should say specifically OTR FM, the premium channel on OMTimes Radio. We were the first live broadcast on the new channel, on the premium channel OTR FM. So very honored to be chosen to be the first show to run on the new channel. And as far as I know, we're still the only really heavily political channel on, or political show, I should say, on OMTimes. I can't say that about IPM Nation. We have a lot of political programming, a lot of great political programming on IPM Nation. Let's see. Before we begin to wrap up, Trump, got to get to Trump. What would an episode of the show be without Trump? So here's something that I didn't think would come up again, but I probably should have known better. Reuters this afternoon, or actually this one up at 6 p.m. tonight, reporting that Donald Trump says Ted Cruz's Canadian birth could cause problems for the GOP. So let me read this. It's very brief. Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump has waded back into the topic of eligibility for the U.S. presidency, telling the Washington Post that rival Ted Cruz could run into trouble if he won the party's nomination because he was born in Canada. And by the way, for those who don't recall, though I'm sure you do, Trump was really king of the birthers with Obama. All right, it says here, Trump, the real estate billionaire, had previously demanded that President Barack Obama prove he was born in the United States. He appeared to re-enter that birther arena with his latest comments, which were published on Tuesday. Trump dominated the Republican pack in a recent Reuters national poll, but Cruz leads the field in Iowa, the first state to hold its presidential nominating contest next month ahead of the November 2016 election. Trump told the Post he was not attacking Cruz, simply, oh, geez, this is transparent. He wasn't attacking Cruz, but simply repeating chatter he had heard about Cruz's birthplace. Yeah, that's how you get around looking like you're attacking somebody, except for the fact that you look incredibly obvious with this tactic. Oh, I'm not attacking him. I'm just telling you something I heard. But he said it could cause problems, including potential court challenges. Quote, Republicans are going to have to ask themselves the question, do we want a candidate who could be tied up in court for 2 years? That'd be a big problem. Unquote. Trump was quoted as saying in an interview with the Post. He also said, quote, you don't want to be running and then have that kind of thing over your head, unquote. Presidents must be natural-born citizens under the U.S. Constitution. Cruz was born in Calgary, Alberta, but his mother was a U.S. citizen, which he says meets the requirements to run. Previous presidential candidates, such as Republican U.S. Senator John McCain, who were born outside the United States to parents who were citizens, were also considered eligible. McCain was born in the then U.S.-controlled Panama Canal Zone. Cruz dismissed the comments on Tuesday with a lighthearted tweet implying Trump's remarks were far-fetched. He tweeted, my response to @RealDonald Trump calling into question my natural-born citizenship. And then he posted, it's kind of clever. He posted a clip of the YouTube video of Fonzie jumping the shark, literally, on Happy Days, which is, of course, where that phrase originates. That was clever. I have to give him credit. Of course, probably a staffer did that for him. He linked to a video of the jumping the shark scene from the 1977 episode of the television show Happy Days, in which the character Fonzie jumps over a shark while on water skis. The phrase has come to indicate when a fading TV show does something outrageous or silly to grab attention. Cruz has avoided engaging with Trump's critics so far. Trump has questioned how Cruz's evangelical Christian faith fits with his Cuban heritage and criticized his opposition to ethanol subsidies. Trump also raised questions about Cruz's birthplace early in 2015, but later backed down and said he thought the senator was eligible to run. Yeah, I mean, really the crux of the issue is, what does natural-born citizen mean? But, if you're a child born to parents who are citizens, or one of them is a citizen, to my mind, that means, you're an American citizen. You're a natural-born American citizen. I don't think this is going anywhere, and I think Trump's just being silly, but he tends to be. And the other Trump thing is, says here, this is from Politico, Donald Trump's free media bonanza. On Monday, the billionaire businessman milked the networks for thousands of dollars worth of cost-free advertising. Says here, Donald Trump reserved nearly $2 million for a 7-day ad blitz in Iowa and New Hampshire this week. But the billionaire real estate mogul and master media manipulator also got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of free airtime on Monday, and even more in seemingly endless coverage and discussion of what amounts to a glorified press release touting his candidacy. Trump's new 30-second spot, released Monday morning, was played in its entirety 40 times on the cable news networks between Monday and Tuesday morning, according to Politico's count. Using hour-by-hour prices provided by ad tracking firms for 30-second ads on CNN, Fox, and MSNBC, Politico estimated that the 40 airings would have cost Trump $330,000. Now, let me stop here for a moment because, again, and I address this all the time, but for those of you who feel that the media is somehow unfair to Trump because they want to tear Trump down, you don't understand how the media works. If the media were somehow plotting, this alleged liberal media somehow plotting against Donald Trump, he wouldn't be getting all this free ad time. The media loves Trump. The media, Trump makes the media's job easy by always opening his mouth and giving the media things to talk about. And, now this new ad, he is. I mean, I don't think it's hyperbole. What's written in this article on Politico, he is a master media manipulator. He is very media savvy. He may be one of the most media savvy candidates ever. Got to give him that, like him or not. I mean, he's very media savvy. He understands the game, and and the media plays right into it. Let's see. But that number doesn't even include the many times all the major channels aired large chunks of the ad. Significant portions of the spot were played at least 20 times in the same period across cable networks in that same 24-hour period, though none of the broadcast networks played the full ad in either their blockbuster morning shows or evening news programs. All of them, from NBC's Today to CBS's Evening News, dedicated multiple segments to it, often airing 10 to 15-second clips. It all amounted to a promotional coup for the author of The Art of the Deal, whose guerrilla marketing strategy, hype up his first ad buy, invest a little, and get even more back for free, paid huge returns in what campaign operatives call earned media. Evan Tracy, Senior VP at National Media Inc., a GOP TV ad buying firm, said, quote, Trump's paid media launch is a twofer. His ads keep his campaign momentum going, and the coverage that they generate makes it harder for others in the race to get coverage during this critical time, unquote. MSNBC and Fox each played the ad 14 times in its entirety between Monday and Tuesday morning. CNN played the ad 12 times in the same time period. On Fox, which dominates the cable ratings, that would amount to about $200,000 in free ad time. The ad, if aired in full during the morning shows and nightly newscasts, would have cost hundreds of thousands more. Trump hasn't been shy in boasting about his ability to drive media coverage, often tweeting about how his frequent appearances boost TV ratings while benefiting from unfiltered live streams of his campaign events. I'll stop with that. There's more to this article if you want to read the whole thing. Actually, I'll go ahead and finish it. There's only a couple more paragraphs. He said, quote, I've spent zero on advertising because you and Fox and all the others, I won't mention names, but every other network, I mean, they cover me a lot, to put it mildly, unquote, he told Neo Cavuto in October. Quote, and in covering me, it's almost like if I put ads on top of the program, it would be too much. It would be too much, Trump, unquote. Indeed, Trump has completely dominated media mentions since the summer, accounting for 41% of television news mentions of Republican candidates, according to the 2016 campaign television tracker. All right, there's a little bit more here, but we'll leave it there. But, Trump, again, he's very media savvy. He says a lot of controversial things, which obviously get some coverage and polls. He does very well in the polls when he does that, but also, too, he's the most sort of media available candidate. You aren't going to get, if you're a morning news program, I don't know, if you're Fox and Friends, most of the candidates, you're not going to be able to get on there any damn time you want, any morning of the week. these things have to be scheduled and whatnot and coordinated with the campaigns. And then whoever the candidate is going to come on to the show and be very careful about what they say, et cetera. Trump is not only media savvy, but he's media friendly. He makes himself available. He calls into Morning Joe, from what I've seen online, on an almost daily basis. Chris Christie's on Morning Joe a lot too, actually, there in the studio, but Chris Christie's not far. He's in New Jersey. So unless he's out on the campaign trail, it's easy for him to get there. I know that MSNBC has taken some criticism for giving Chris Christie so much time on Morning Joe, but it's a matter of availability. Obviously, Governor Chris Christie is available to go on that show frequently. It works geographically well, so that's what happens. So Trump continues to play it smart. I do believe he'll be the nominee, and I do believe Hillary Clinton will be the next president. I'll talk tomorrow on the TV show. I'll address Obama and his gun control gambit today. Did hear the some of the speech earlier while driving. It was pretty boring, and none of this is going to amount to anything. It's not going to do anything positive. But I'll talk about that more tomorrow on the television edition of the show. Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on IPM Nation. And that's it for now. Thank you all for listening tonight. I hope you're warm wherever you are. And I look forward to tomorrow it being warmer here, where we are here in glorious Manchester, New Hampshire. And other than that, hey, if you see somebody wearing a funny hat, remember, don't shoot them. They're not necessarily a terrorist. Very important. So I'll leave you with that nugget of wisdom. All right, good night, everybody.
IPMNation.com.